Okay, perfect. So let's get this started. Obviously, so we would be starting off with Sprint 2, individual presentation, going into spring break. So I just wanted to kind of make sure I get you kind of developed on what I'm working on, what I'm going to be working on an individual point of view. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Sanders. You've helped me immensely in this whole preparing for this project, getting this project taken care of, and kind of getting the ball rolling. You've been super helpful. You've been there for us all this time, and I greatly appreciate it. So we'll go to Jura and kind of get that started first. So obviously for Sprint 8, I have a lot going on. SRS document is kind of taking a back burner, but I've been working on that. Working on mostly the arm field research and discussions with Dr. Zhao. I've been kind of trying to coordinate that and handle that predominantly on me. So we talked to Dr. Zhao. Um, and basically, here it is. Here, there will be no other software on the program. So that's super helpful because we are trying to limit the access of everything to that and make sure that um, the student doesn't have too much parameters to write scripts and access and maliciously kind of hack the network or possibly get into the network or delete the program. Luckily, with Rust S, we could kind of, and through the implementation security measures we have created, we can go in and shut down every kind of application except for the ones that we want the user to be able to use. Um, the settings one we kind of talked about, and they would need admin rights to kind of access those anyways. So it's already on there, so they don't really have access, especially discussing that with Dr. Zhao in email is that they don't have that access already because of they need to have her admin rights even when they're using the platform. So that makes it nice. So even if they can get into the settings, they can't get very far. All they could do is access a command prompt. Doesn't mean they could go anywhere kind of further with that. Um, so they can't write and get in the back end pretty much. So we just got to limit kind of them having access to only the application. And it looks like through discussing everything and researching the platform uses multiple different languages. So the predominant ones are C++ and Python. With that makes it nice because they have a lot of um, security measures already attached to that. And also researching, so this would be the tubular reactor that they use. So it is called CET MK2 tubular reactor. Basically, it's like a tank that they fill up, and it kind of measures temperature, condensity, conductivity. It has coils. So it's really interesting. And honestly, I learned a lot about kind of not just the software, which is obviously a screenshot here, which is super useful. As zoom in. Um, let's break this down because this is what we care about. Like I could talk to you about reading because I read their whole brochure. I'll show you. This is part of researching. Is knowing the platform that you're going to kind of we'll get out of that. That's kind of painful to watch. But understanding the platform is important. So kind of just going over the different ones, but this is the one that we specifically are focusing on. So I went over, read everything, kind of just generic chemistry and understanding basically what it's doing in the varying concentration of this and kind of the reactor. So it's important to understand this, but in all, it's more important. And this is a rest test, so been working on kind of connecting to my devices at home, which I got going, and then also working on the server log, making sure updates to server log and we could access this is important. Dr. Zhao, I don't think he's going to be too interested in this, but it's interesting for us as programmers or passing this project on is to have this log so that we can view everything. So you want to see it out and you want to be able to view what it's relaying, understand these concepts of server ID, everything that's going on, and be able to see how it's working from this end so we could test it. And I've been trying to test it on MATLAB at home. I have it integrated and working with my desktop. My wife is downstairs and the kind of dogs are crazy. So I will demonstrate that in the laboratory in front of you guys. But getting to the two and with the dogs is kind of rough. So I decided to kind of just show you on this kind of the implementations and more so the back end research that I've been doing. So basically, this is what they have access to. This is what they're going to see. This is only what they're going to see. So we only want them to have access to this platform. So they can save as, they can open, they can write new, but they can't access those platforms when it goes out to it because you're going to need admin rights. So what we want them to be able to do is to simply be able to print um, and show and create the diagrams. As for that, I'm discussing with Dr. Zhao is do they really need to save? And she makes it clear that she doesn't want them to save anything to the actual computer. She just wants them to conduct the experiment. They could do screenshots or they could do other ways, but there's other ways for them to do that and kind of pass that information on to her, which is helpful. So we're working with her to kind of see how and get those labs so that we can understand kind of ways and measurements to guarantee that students aren't just saving and opening, because that's how you transfer malicious software and you can access the network and get into the back end of the computer. And we don't want that. So we just want this. We want them to be able to run the lab. Her, if she needs to save it, if she needs to do that, totally fine. She's not the one we're worried about. We want the user, being the student, when they have this, to have limited access. That's our goal. But we want them to be able to do it from remote sitting. That's the point of our lab. And that's our point of our capstone. So yeah, that was kind of done. Research, final demo integration. That's what I was discussing. That's my next project that I've been working on, and got to get going on it. I feel confident, but I'm going to also try to do it from. So I'm going to try to do it from this computer, which is a Windows computer, to my Apple MacBook and see how the software runs, because I also want to see how a cross-platform works. So to make sure that the Rust desk will work and our software that we have designed and implemented will work for multiple different softwares, across multiple different softwares. So I think that's a key concept I'm going to try to figure out, so that there's trying to look ahead to make sure there's no loopholes and no thing that we're kind of missing. Trying to think of kind of two steps ahead. I was talking to Dr. Clement, that's kind of thinking of things that may come up that we may have not originally thought of. So I'm just trying to, and just by doing this, maybe there'll be another ones that rise that I could think of. But yeah, this is just basically going over all the information of it. I've saved these all to my um, basically favorites. This is our main website. Let's go over past ones and what I have done in the past. So let me go here. Should be able to go to mine. Let's go to edit sprint. Should update that way. Yep. Okay, let's go to edit sprint and bring it back. So you don't want to do that. Usually that will point back to, I'm going to go manage workflow, see if that would be able to kind of do that. I was just able to access it. This is weird. Projects, go to Cam Connect and go to me. It won't let me get back to the other kind of sprints and what was done for some reason. That is really weird. So I'm going to have to look more into that. But I know from past it was able to do that. But now it just wants to let me access kind of just this sprint. Let me see if I go to boards. Sorry, I just had this. I didn't think it was an issue, but view all projects. Maybe that would help. Nope. Anyways, well, I'll just talk about it. So kind of throughout this, from last sprint to this sprint and the individual conceptual side of it, I have worked on server implementation, research, on all the different the laboratory, the software, the tubular reactor, rust tests, and I have also helped conduct, obviously, in this creating the chem tests and connecting to Jared so that we have a demonstration. I've worked hand in hand with Jared on a lot of the back end stuff with the server, and the actual platform working and being able to understand the user ID, the settings, being able to do a lot of the security and change it up from that, and kind of understanding the software that we're using and how to be in direct contact with Dr. Zhao on where we're going forward with this project. And so Dr. Sanders and the concerns that he has and kind of adjusting them. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have done personally. And we have kind of gotten it going, and I've worked with Jared also on kind of designing how to limit the access of the actual platforms and the apps, and which ones we should do and which ones we shouldn't do, and kind of how we go about that and researching kind of the way to do that. So yeah, it's been a lot, and I'm super grateful for it though, because I've learned a ton, even security measures, like talking to Dr. Sanders about like possible ways that they could get into the network, and him bringing up the topic of it and showing us like just example of the kind of just maliciously attacking the computer, why a person would do it, how they would do it. Yeah, it's been super useful, and I just appreciate Dr. Sanders, and I'm super grateful for this course. Yeah, if you need more knowledge or anything on this, kind of what I've been doing, I just want to touch base and inform you. But if you need to sit down one on one, I'll totally be down to do that. And I appreciate everything. You're the best, and God bless. Have a great spring break. Thank you. Bye bye.